Okay, well, good morning. It is wonderful to see everybody, and hello, Zoom people. I'm here on behalf of all of the people that you see on this screen. So at NSF, I first want to talk about the working group that we have that is across all of GEO. So it includes people from ocean sciences and earth sciences. So Gail Christensen, who's here with me, she just asked that last question. Morris Tivey, Aisha Morris, Eva Zenzurkia, Maggie Benoit, Kevin Johnson. We're all part of the working group. So Gail and I are the only ones here. A bunch of people are online, and at any time over the course of this whole endeavor, if you have questions, these are the people to talk to. And people on the right, Shelby Walker, who is a facilities person at the GEO level, Jim McManus and Jessica Robin, who are the division directors for ocean and earth sciences, respectively. And then Teresa de la Puente, who is in the Office of International Science and Engineering. She's the Chile lead, and she's really engaged in SZ4D too. So I show this in part to remind you that there's a bunch of people who are really interested in this at NSF. We're excited and very engaged. Okay. So we've spent a lot of time investing in subduction zones even before 2016, but I like to use that as a starting point since we've talked a lot about the Boise meeting and what's happened since then. And I did a little search just to see what have we funded in subduction zones at NSF since then. 23 different programs across the whole agency have funded work on subduction zones to the tune of like $160 million. So not even including the facilities that they've leveraged. So there's a lot of investment and interest across the whole agency. And of course, we funded the two RCNs that you've heard a lot about, the SZ4D and MCS. And of course, Converse, which is sort of another parallel effort that's really focused on rapid response to volcanic eruptions. And as Emily introduced, in 2022, we funded this Catalyst Award, and this pie chart just shows the level of funding, again, to make the point. So half of the money came from the GEO front office, not just from the EAR programs and the OCE program. So marine geology and geophysics, the division of EAR, the geophysics program, and the petrology and geochemistry program have all invested. And so, again, just to point out, there's a lot of interest at a pretty high level in what everyone is doing here in this report that is incredible. And I was asked to talk a little bit about how do we keep that going, and how do you as a community support all of the components of that vision before there is one program to do it all? Well, how do we work within the 23 different programs that fund subduction science at NSF? So I want to walk through a few of the things. I'm going to throw out a bunch of programs and sort of categories of things, mainly to set up the conversations for the 3 days as you're thinking about what you want to accomplish. Think about the categories of programs I'm going to talk about, and then ask us the specifics, because I don't want to bore you with program specifics in my 10 minutes. Okay, so first, opportunities for science, right? We're here to do science. And Emily sort of talked about this a little bit in her opening remarks, all the different ways that we can do this. Submit proposals to the core programs in EAR and ocean sciences. So there are 5 sections between the two divisions with lots of programs that have a significant interest in subduction zones. Postdoctoral fellowships, both divisions have fellowship programs. Submit proposals to those. Submit some postdoc proposals that are really focused in this area. The Frontier Research and Earth Sciences program. This is for projects that are kind of bigger than can fit in core, right? They can be single disciplinary, they can be multidisciplinary, but they're sort of at a larger scale. Basically, any program at NSF that supports what you want to do. There are places to submit regular research projects. I've heard a lot of talk about pilot studies, collective fieldwork opportunities, sample acquisition, all of this stuff. A lot of this can be accomplished, and you can use this guiding document as your reasoning. Why do you want to do this? Well, it's laid out here in this community vision. So there's also community and capacity building as a significant component of SZ4D, right? There are programs at the GEO level for cultural transformation in the geosciences community, for workforce development specifically, There are NSF-wide programs like ExcelNet to do, international network building and collaboration. There are programs that are specifically aimed at engaging undergrad only or minority serving institutions, engage with tribal colleges, engage with HBCUs, do all of that. You can do that within the existing programs. If you have an existing award, maybe ask for a supplement to get a grad student to do some work at the USGS. There are people in this room who have taken advantage of the intern program. It is fantastic. And it's a really great way to sort of partner with another agency. You can also go send a student to work at industry. Maybe there's a instrument that you want to develop as part of this. They can go there. Nonprofits, for-profits, anything. It's a great opportunity. You can ask for money to bring undergraduates onto your project and get them experience. And there are specific opportunities for supplements if you want to involve faculty from primarily undergrad institutions who might not have that research office support, or they're not totally in the NSF system. You can engage them with a supplement to your existing award. So these are all different ways that you can really sort of expand the community and build capacity. You can propose, I've heard a lot of interest in like workshops or series of workshops or cider style things. Propose them. We are totally open to workshops or a series of workshop proposals. There's a new mechanism in the NSF proposal guide called a planning proposal that is specifically get some money to plan some activities. And of course, use the broader impacts of your regular research proposals to do a lot of what I've heard you want to do in the capacity building space. So I talk a little bit about the opportunities for infrastructure. Maggie is going to talk more about this, I think on day 3 virtually, but there's a range of infrastructure support scale at NSF, right? So if you want to do something in the sort of individual instrumentation piece, like to acquire, design an instrument, EAR and OCE both have programs that that you can submit to that are sort of separate from the NSF-wide major research program. If you want to do something that's a little more cyber infrastructure focused, EAR has a geoinformatics program. And then you've heard these words mentioned earlier today. So MRI is sort of between, bigger than what goes into IF, and then the mid-scale research. So major research instrumentation is for a multi-user facility. MSRI is really research infrastructure that's either 6 to 20 or 20 to $100 million. So that's really just the infrastructure piece for either designing or implementing something that you already have. And then there's MREFC, which we've also heard about, the major research equipment and facilities construction. This is really, and I quoted this from the proposal guide for a reason for this solicitation for region, it is for acquisition, construction, and commissioning of major facilities. So it really is only for building the thing. But all of the development, the design, and especially the operations and maintenance of that thing is funded out of the programs, right? So that has to come from something that exists already. And a lot of people are familiar with EarthScope. We've talked about EarthScope quite a bit yesterday and today. It was fantastic, but very unique in that it had its own science program that you could propose to do work to. At most MREFCs across NSF, all of the science that's done is actually funded through the core programs, the telescopes, all of that stuff. So EarthScope was really unique. We had extra money in the agency. We had a little bump of funds that came from Congress to help us accomplish that. And so we need to think about, without that extra bump, how are we going to support the operations, the maintenance, and the science that needs to be done if there is an MREFC in the future. And I think Maggie will talk a little bit about that later in the meeting. Okay, so in 2016 at the Boise meeting, this was my last slide, basically, these points. The NSF message was that the science questions need to lead the way. We wanted you to think now about the broader impacts of the potential endeavor, show real integration between the disciplines, and think about how, at the time it was SCO, the Subduction Zone Observatory, will bring a transformational step forward. What can you not do without this? And moving forward still, the scientific questions should lead the way. Clarify your partnerships and think about each stakeholder's roles and what their commitments are as you're designing what piece of this you're working on. And again, integration of the vision is really key. You want to focus on the tractable, compelling problems first, right? You can expand later, but think when you're really picturing how do we start this, you want to focus on the tractable, compelling pieces. Because as a project gets bigger, the stakeholders that you need to convince gets a lot broader. And I mean that within NSF and within the community broadly. So build in some scalability to your ideas. And whatever the scale, think about the full life cycle from the beginning. Think about it now. What is it going to look like in 10 years and 20 years? Know that we are excited. We are clearly, I've shown you, we've made this investment. We're very excited about it. The process is iterative. This is a conversation. We are here to help make this community successful. This document is a great start. Use it, leverage it. We can leverage it internally. And I think I'm out of time. So thanks.